reviews.
It's review time. Dennis and Adam, we gon' blow your mind. We're stepping up to the plate, ready to swing. Analyzing movies like a scientist would bling.
All right, I'm intrigued to hear. Sorry, what's up?
Oh, I just would like to apologize. I just noticed the fade in, fade out was checked. That's why our music
I hit
was
that. I was wondering why earlier we lost the little things here and there. My apologies. That's on me. I hit that. I thought it'd be cool. I should stay in my own lane here, folks. All right, Dennis, you're going to be our first scientist with bling here.
Yes, let's do
I'm
it.
intrigued to hear about this found footage style documentary crime thriller.
Yes, so my first review of this episode is a film you can watch over on Netflix right now called The Perfect Stranger. The Perfect Neighbor. Let me take that again. My first review of this episode is a little flick over on Netflix right now. It is called The Perfect Neighbor. So as Adam teased, yes, it's like a pseudo found footage style where it is like 90% police body cam footage, which is an interesting perspective. Funny enough, we watched a couple nights before, fell through on End of Watch. David Ayer classic, I think, was probably one of my favorite films of his.
With Pena and fucking
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, Gyllenhaal, classic.
Great fucking movie. And it's not found footage, but it's kind of like a lot of camera POV work that it makes it feel very visceral and puts you in the moment. This documentary, being the fact that this story really happened, it is so intense. And it is a good ramp up into where, let's be honest, where you think it ends up. But it is a gut-wrenching, but I think a good story to have to witness if you're into this kind of subject matter, like if you're into the crime documentary sort of thing. I've never seen something that's presented itself like this. And it was so intense. And you're just, even as you're going along, you're hoping something like, what ends up happening, you're hoping that's not what happened, but you can't fucking look away. So it's telling the story of, there's a family in Florida, the neighborhood in Florida, where it's this long established neighborhood of like a lot of rental homes. There's a few owned houses, but it's a lot of families that live here. There's one duplex building that's kind of in the corner of this cul-de-sac where this older woman lives. She's constantly complaining about the kids playing. There's an open lot, a grass yard, where the owner of that house said it's fine because it's such a big open space. He's always allowed them to play there, but she's constantly yelling at them like they're trespassing, to the point to where it's come out like she's thrown things at the kids. She's threatened them with physical harm. She's dropped the N-bomb a few times yelling at these little black kids, saying this shit to their faces. And it's just like, who the fuck does this? And it's the littlest, and it's the weirdest shit. Like you find footage cell phone footage of the kids start telling the parents, oh, she's like setting off her car alarm to get us to like stay away, and we're not even around her car. So they deliberately filmed. They told all the kids to come inside, and she would just set off her car every 20 minutes. She'd just set it off. Like she would just do this crazy fucking psychological warfare shit against little kids playing like football and shit. They're not like, just doing normal little kid things. Sure. And I'm sorry if you're in a neighborhood full of families with young kids. Either deal with it or fucking move. And that's one of the through lines we keep talking about. Oh, she's been saying for like the last 2 years that she's moving. Clearly no intent of doing so. But it keeps this tension keeps building up. And through all the various times she's called the police, you have all these cops showing up to the point to where the cops even know her name. And they're like, oh fuck, it's her again. And there's even one time where they're very formal. They're talking to her. She's completely like saying some fucking nonsense. They're walking away, and the officer's just like, that crazy fucking bitch. Like he's saying it out loud and into his camera. But it builds up into this horrific event where she ends up drawing a gun and shooting one of the people in the neighborhood. and you're witnessing this evening, this night, play out in almost real time, and just the terror of like what the reality of this, making this decision, the impact it has. And it's incredible that like she was able to shoot someone and not go to jail right away. She came back home, and like I honestly, it was for only like an hour and 39 minutes, I believe. It was so intense but so moving. I teared up. There was a couple of incredibly just gut-wrenching and moving moments. I've never had. There's maybe a couple other documentaries that have just been so intense that I've had that intense of a reaction, but this was one of those. This is definitely not for the faint of heart, especially when it comes to those who've lost family members to violence. This will strike home for you, so I would warn you that right out the gate. But it is so intense. But I think it's a story worth hearing, because these are the things we need to wake up to, that we need to correct. We need to not, the laws that allowed for certain things to happen, we got to pay closer attention to how they're written and how they are used in court and things. Sometimes aspects of the process are not moving at the pace they should be, and especially when it's racially motivated. And I think it's an incredibly powerful film, and definitely worth watching. But again, I'll warn you, it does get very intense emotionally. At least it did for me. So I'm sure there's going to be some people that it's going to be a little much for them. But my God, it is a powerful film. I feel for the families in this neighborhood. If you're up for it, please check out The Perfect Neighbor. I can give it 3.5 slices.
Oh boy.
I kind of shorted it because if you're listening to all the dialogue and all the voiceover, in the first 5 minutes, they kind of tell you what happens. So I'm like,
fair enough.
I was just like, oh, but I get what they're trying to do. It's one of those where they're trying to present you with so much information and take you on such a journey. Maybe you'll kind of forget who we were talking about at the beginning, and of course, but it's very powerful, and I think it was a very well executed film, and incredible what they were able to do with, again, it's like 90% body cam footage.
That's impressive.
Establishing shots, like they use drones to just shoot wides of the neighborhood, and then there's some court footage, and then police department interrogation room camera footage, which
damn,
one of the gnarliest fucking scenes. And they just let the footage just roll for a while, where I'm like, you're watching it for a couple minutes, like, is something supposed to be happening? And then when it does, you just oh my God. So yeah, if you're into the true crime or just this style of documentary filmmaking, highly recommend it.
Nice. Okay. Fair enough. That's over on Netflix, folks.
Yeah.
All right. My next movie is based on true life events as well, but it's dramatized. I have the new Sydney Sweeney movie, Christy. Now, I didn't see any of the trailers for this. I didn't know anything about this boxer that she's playing, Christy Martin. I just know it's had a lot of awards contention talks, and people are saying, oh, Sydney Sweeney transformed for this role. Let's give her an award. I'm like, all right, I'll check this out. I went to a film festival recently, and that was one of the movies I got into. So this comes out on the 7th. So it's coming out soon of November. So essentially, this is a story where we're meeting a young girl who's living in this kind of crummy little town, and she's a lesbian, but her family doesn't like it. Everyone kind of looks down on her. But the one thing that she does right in life is fighting. And she does this like amateur boxing fight to make a couple of bucks. Someone in the audience sees that, and they're like, oh, I want you to come out to where I live, a different state, and I want you to meet a trainer who might be able to train you. I think there's a future in boxing. And she's like, all right, yeah, I'll try it. And then she's really good at boxing. She's like number one. She can't lose. And she kind of represses her sexuality and ends up marrying her manager, who's this kind of slime ball asshole who keeps saying, I'm eventually gonna introduce you to my old friend Don King, and you just got to get to the point. And like years go by, she's like, I've won all these matches. When am I going to meet him? And he just strings that along, and it just all this resentment. She is killing it. Everyone loves her. She's a big star. She's never lost a match. And once she finally starts failing a little bit, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be fighting this person. Maybe I shouldn't. And then like her husband forces her to do things and abuses her mentally, physically, emotionally. And it gets dark. She even tries telling her family about this. And her family's like, oh, no, he told us you're on drugs and not to believe anything you say. He's a good guy. And it's like just watching this woman who is like a fucking beast in the ring and can fucking give a beating, but she can't stand up for herself against her husband. It's a tragedy. It's insane. And everyone around her is like kind of worried about her, like all the other people in the boxing area. And I don't know. It's interesting. I know I said a lot of stuff. So essentially we're watching her rise up the ranks. It starts in the 80s and ends in the mid 2000s. Oh, wow. And it's a wild ride here. Like, I'm not going to lie. The first act of this movie, I was kind of bored. And I'm like, I don't see this. I don't know why everyone's like riding a high for this movie. And then by the end of the first act, it starts picking up and then it builds momentum. I'm like, holy shit, I want to know what happens next. And it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. And after that first act, it flies by. And you never know where it's going to go. And like Sydney Sweeney did transform. Normally in movies, she uses her sexuality and her looks. And in this, she's got the muscles. She's got those weird wigs.
For this, right? Like, I'm seeing promo pics and like she's got fucking guns. Like, damn, good for you.
But and then we're getting like a few familiar faces here and there. But the person who really stole the show for me, who I'm hoping is up for some awards when the season kicks in, is her husband. The whole time I'm like, who is her husband? I kind of know who this is, but I don't. And I had to look it up and I was stunned. Someone we recently talked about, Dennis, someone who we always talk about, like saying, oh, this guy's a chameleon. He can do this and that. Ben Foster plays her husband. He's unrecognizable. He doesn't sound like himself. And he just is a shitty man. And I love to hate this guy. I had a blast watching this movie. Like,
nice, man.
It was one of my favorite movies I saw at this festival. Like, I didn't think I was going to like it. I don't care about boxing, but just watching this personal story and watching this woman learn to stand up for herself, I'm like, this is uplifting. And like I said, there's a lot of surprises happening here that I didn't see coming. Some deep shit happens, and it's crazy. I feel like right now, or when this comes out, if Smashing Machine's still out, this would pair perfectly with the Smashing Machine. They're both kind of akin to one another. I really enjoyed Christy. I'm going to give it 3 slices of toast. It's pretty damn good. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one because I was curious about this story because I'm not as, again, like you said, I'm not as familiar with this boxer, but the journey sounds like
that's the journey is where it's at. And I guess there's a documentary that this movie is based off of, but I hadn't seen it, of course. But it's one hell of a ride, dude. I highly suggest people out there, even if you're not into boxing, this woman is a trailblazer in the world of women's boxing. And another breakout star here is Chad Coleman. I don't know who he is, but he plays Don King, and I'd watch a whole movie as this guy playing Don King. He's so electrifying and so hilarious. So I don't know. Hopefully that comes out in about 2 weeks. Go check it out, folks. You got a movie that I'm going to tag team with you that comes out on Netflix in a couple of weeks, but it's in very limited release right now. Dennis, you want to tell the folks about this one?
Yes, this is Guillermo del Toro finally getting to his dream film, Frankenstein. So yes, this is a Netflix-backed film. As Adam said, it is going to be released shortly on Netflix, but in certain areas you can go see it in theaters. So if you have the chance, I will say right now, go see it in the big screen. So this is the classic retelling of the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This is not a remake of the movie. This isn't trying to, there's no bolts in the neck. This is very much going for the literature side of it, plus a little more. We're starting off with there is a Russian ship who's going on this expedition to the North Pole, where they come across this camp with this horribly injured man, and this beast is hunting him down. And as they're trying to keep this injured man safe, he reveals his name is Victor Frankenstein, and he begs them that if that monster comes back, if the creature shows up again, leave me out on the ice, surrender me to him so the rest of you can live, because he will kill all of you to get to me. And upon asking why, Victor Frankenstein proceeds to tell a story of, this is how we got here. So it's much like the novel, it's split into two perspectives. You have Frankenstein is the doctor, by the way, people. Frankenstein's
I hate
perspective.
when people fucking mix that shit
Right.
up, man.
Or the
It's a
argument,
pet peeve.
I've had people, I hate the argument. It's like, no, Frankenstein is the monster if you're talking about the Universal monster movie, because they called it that in the movie. It's wrong in the book, though. Just we can distinguish those are separate things. In this instance, Victor Frankenstein is the doctor. We see his what isn't described in the book that is shown in this film is his upbringing and his childhood, and it's all this backstory that I found very interesting. I kind of like this buildup as to what would drive someone to pursue this career, to pursue this experiment, even in the first place, other than just morbid curiosity or to be, to best God, so to say. And of course, we follow that classic journey of how do we beat death. Incredible performances from Oscar Isaac, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, everyone. Honestly, I thought all the performances were fantastic.
It's interesting. I agree with. I feel like Oscar Isaac, in my opinion, was the weakest part of this movie. Not saying he was terrible, but Christoph Waltz stole the show, in my opinion. He was not in the movie as much as I wanted him in. And Mia Goth was doing something I've never seen her do before. She was like playing an earnest character. She wasn't playing like a weird, like fringe type of character. Yes. She was really going for it. And Elordi, man, as the creature,
shit,
so much heart. So he's like a child. He has this puppy dog like outlook at life, and oh man, it's heart-wrenching watching shit happen to him. And
God, especially when we get to the second half where it's his perspective, the creature's perspective, the creature's story. Man, I mean, I just love this the whole way through. So I got to see this, as I said earlier in the episode, I got to see it at the Tadam Theater in Hollywood at the Netflix offices as a part of the there was a Producers Guild screening that they were doing, and we got an introduction from Guillermo del Toro, as well as a Q&A with Guillermo as Oscar Isaac and two of the producers from the film, who one of them has worked with del Toro for many years. And it was just to hear that passion for filmmaking and the fact that so many practical effects were employed, so many practical elements were in this. There's no volume.
Now I'm gonna jump in. I gotta say yes and no at the same time. There was a lot of mediocre CG, like those fucking wolves and some of the backgrounds. I'm like, oh, it's taking me out of this movie a bit, because Del Toro lives on practicality, and in this, I feel like he was a little loosey-goosey in my take.
I mean, yes and no, because it's like to me, it was limited in use. Yes, it was the wolves. Yes, it was the castle. Yes, it was the lightning.
All the key components to making a Frankenstein's creature.
No, but then there's all the combat on the ship. They built a 130-foot ship that was on a gimbal that actually threw the cast around. They were out in Alberta. They were up in the fucking white north of Canada filming this. So they were freezing their asses off out there. The laboratory itself was all modular 360 set with practical lighting, exterior lighting outside. There was no volume elements to the windows. The full set closed in on the cast, if you're not familiar with what those phrases mean. So as the actors are looking around, they're looking at all of the walls of the laboratory. There's no, they would pull out pieces as needed in order to accomplish, because there was lots of movement. The camera moves around a lot.
Oh, the
a lot
camera
of crane
work
shots
is
and stuff.
fantastic here.
Yes, cinematography
And
is
it
gorgeous,
looks
I think.
visually stunning.
The
And the
wardrobe
score,
was
we haven't even talked
incredible.
about the score, man.
was wonderful. When did he even went into detail talking about like they didn't even buy fabric for the costumes. He had them loom fabric. They made it from the ground up in those aspects. And even the small details, the little anatomical surgical doll that young Victor plays with, all of these little elements that were handmade, the statues that were the wax statues that were sculpted, the surgical ones that he's using for reference. The practicality of those elements just speaks to me a lot, just given that so many of these things can get tossed aside and underappreciated. Even when he's walking through the city streets after his failed presentation to that medical board at the university, I loved you had the really nasty the butchers and the booksellers and the rain and I loved just the texture on screen. The music went hand in hand with all of those things, and it was so hard to not just. I loved it.
See, my only other issue besides the wonky CG here and there, I felt like the first act dragged a little bit. Like I didn't need.
I've heard that too.
So much time with the will they won't they with the sister-in-law or soon to be sister-in-law, and I wanted more of the creature. I wanted more of his story. I loved him and the old man. That I'm like, give me more of that, less of Mia Goth.
But to me, we were shown both so we could feel the absence of love. That's why you have that balance. You could see his Victor's life was so pampered, and he had almost anything he'd asked for other than his mother being taken away too young and his resentful father.
Now I liked. The fact that he essentially wanted to be better than Charles Dance, his father. He's like, I'm going to be better than you. And then he became 100 times worse than his father and what he did to the creature.
Exactly. And I think it's that juxtaposition. It's seeing that offset balance of one life to another, because let's be honest, the creature is almost more human than Victor ever really was. He was able to truly find the root of those emotions and experience them even more raw than Victor ever could.
The rawest emotion that the scene I love the most in this movie was when he was first in the world on his own and discovered the deer eating the berries. That whole scene I was like so delighted by, but then the way that scene ended, I was gut wrenched. I was like, God, this reminds me, life is short, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's that balance. One of the things Del Toro talked about is his main influence for this film was his relationship with his father, and him realizing he's turned into his father and he wants to correct that for his kids. He doesn't want to be that. And after he talked about that after watching the film, I'm like, oh, well, that's very apparent in this in this journey, especially when you don't want to, from the perspective of the creature, you don't want it to be where it lands. But the beautiful climax of the film, I love the end.
That was a great way to end it.
And
and another thing you're kind of touching base on, calling him the creature and stuff. The fact that they only refer to him as a monster once in the movie, I was delighted, because Del Toro has that respect and admiration for this character and not just treating him as if he was like a monster. He was some hideous thing. He was, like you said, the most human thing in the movie, almost him and Mia Goth.
This is to me, not that I've seen like every version, like movie version of Frankenstein. This is the closest to what I remember the novel being. This is like how his growth, the creature's growth into, and then wanting a companion. That was such a pivotal point in the novel. Like it is very human, raw emotions, and then to have this living thing discover them for the first time, even though they've lived a life and they're made up of many lives. Like it is it's beautiful and tragic and horrific at the same, like all of these emotions at the same time. And I think they're all woven together in an incredible story. Long, yes, but for me personally, I was fucking there for the journey, and I liked the whole journey because I think the things we see at the beginning makes us appreciate so much more what we see at the end.
Sure. Yeah. How many slices are you giving this bad boy? I feel like I know.
I'm throwing down 4. I loved it so much. I'm sure it could be said I probably liked it more because of who was present.
That was going to be my question.
But
if that is kind of pushing it a little bit,
I think seeing it on the big screen is the main pivotal thing.
Yeah, watching this at home would not feel the same.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't imagine. It would be a disservice to the movie to just watch it at home. So I would desperately plead that if you are close enough to a theater, you can see this on the big screen, go check it out. You will not regret it. Even if you're just vaguely a fan of the director or the story subject matter itself, this is an incredible telling of that story, in my opinion.
Now, only question I have for you now. Originally, the creature was supposed to be played by Andrew Garfield. Do you think he would have been better or worse than Elordi?
You know what's funny? I think the sheer size of Jacob Elordi lent itself a lot. Because
he towered
over everyone. Because he's like actually 6'7" in real life, right? So Andrew Garfield, I don't think is.
He's a little smaller.
So he's a little guy. So I think that helped a lot. And although it's limited in dialogue, by the time you get to some dialogue with him, the guy fucking crushes it. And it's that commanding presence he has in the frame that even without the incredible, that first scene, the rifles going off and all that combat was so visually intense. This is not your family movie version of Frankenstein, let me tell you.
So it's not like Hotel Transylvania's Frankenstein?
No,
you're telling me?
No,
it's not fucking Paul Blart as Frankenstein?
No, not at all. Not at
Dang.
all.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give it 3 slices. I think if it was
I had
a little
feeling
shorter,
that was yours too,
a little more practical, but I see every point you made. I think it's a valid opinion. I went into the movie skeptical. I'm like, I was expecting this to lead more towards like the Crimson Peak era where it's gothic and horror, but just lacking something. But this had more heart and soul. Kind of reminded me a little bit more of Pan's Labyrinth a bit to me.
Yes.
Which I respected.
Yes. A lot, like you said, the heart and soul. Yeah, that's a great comparison. That is definitely what this is much more about. Although horrific, but there is still life, and like in every sense of how you would describe that in this film. Introducing new life and then trying to shape it into what you think you want it to be, and then just letting it grow and see, like, let life take control, let nature run its course. Yeah. Loved it.
All right, well, folks, that is currently playing in limited release theaters across the country, probably the globe, if I had to guess, but it will be exclusively available to watch on Netflix on the 7th of November. So it's coming soon, folks. But like Dennis said, go see it on the big screen if you get the opportunity. You will not regret it.
I'm hoping they re-release it to theaters again before award season. So, yeah.
It's interesting though. It didn't crack the top 10 at the box office. Like I was listening to a breakdown of the box office earlier, and now I'm wondering.
It's only like 380 screens or something. It's so few. I feel like it will never have a chance to like.
But yes and no. But like when K-pop Demon Hunters came out, but it's like, oh man, I thought it would crack at least the top 15. But yeah, you're right. It's such a small release.
Such a small number, which is so sad because I'm like, you gave more screens to K-pop Demon Hunters,
right?
But not to this, which is just.
And I hear Del Toro had a fight to get this released in theaters. Like, it was just announced like a couple of months ago that this was happening, so it was not always in the cards. Weren't always.
From what it sounds like, this was one of his demands, like the whole time, and it sounded like they might have strung him along for a minute, hoping they could just tell him, oh no, never mind, we don't want to do that. Yeah, Del Toro ain't gonna.
I mean,
sit
he
down
threw
on
him
that
a
one.
bone. I think he did an anthology series for him. He did Pinocchio for him.
Yeah,
Give the guy the screen that he deserves. He's a
Yes.
master filmmaker, folks.
that he is. That he is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to close this out with another movie that comes out on the 7th of November as well. A movie I honestly had no expectations for. I thought this movie was going to be a snooze fest and just heavy-handed, not political. I guess you could say political. Courtroom drama. I'm talking about the new movie Nuremberg. All right. Now, like I said, I thought I was going to hate this. And essentially, I was going to the movies to see AMC movie that's a mystery movie. And I got the inclination that it was going to be, of course, Christy. And I've already seen that. So I'm like, all right, they're playing Nuremberg. And then there's going to be a Q&A with Russell Crowe and James Vanderbilt. I'll check it out. I'm happy I did because this movie really took me by surprise, man. Like, it is interesting. So essentially, the day after Hitler dies, his second in command kind of turns himself in, hoping that he can kind of skate under the radar. But there was a tribunal that of all these different countries came together and essentially got all the head Nazis that they could, imprisoned them, and they were going to put them on trial. This is the first time they put people on trial for war crimes. But before they did that, they brought in a U.S. Army psychiatrist to kind of see how these people are mentally failing and to just get a scope of what's happening in their minds.
Mhm.
And the psychiatrist they bring in kind of takes a liking to Herman, who is the second in command. And the two kind of start this friendship. And it's like, oh, maybe this guy's not as bad. He's telling him, oh, I didn't know the concentration camps. I didn't know they were killing this. But he was really selling it to this psychiatrist. That you're like, oh, maybe he didn't. And you're like, no, of course he did. There's no way in hell he didn't know this. And it's just all about, like, is this guy going to fall for it? How? And it plays out so interestingly because we're also there's the cast is stacked. So as the head, second in command, we got Russell Crowe, and oh man, he is fantastic in this role. And then as the psychiatrist, we have Rami Malek, and he's just giving this raw performance. We have let's see here, Colin Hanks comes in here for a little bit. He's all right. We have Richard E. Grant is really great in this too. But the guy who stole the show, in my opinion, was John Slattery. He was just channeling this character so hardcore. And I feel like I've never seen Slattery like this. And this movie had this rich scope to it. And like the sets were beautiful. The score was haunting. I was mesmerized. I'm not going to lie. I was a little sleepy. I was nodding off a little bit in the beginning, but then something clicked and I'm like, I got to be awake for this. I can't just sleep this one out. And it's a long movie. I'm not going to lie. It's 2 hours and 28 minutes, but it's one hell of a ride. I really, really enjoyed Nuremberg. I'm going to give it 4 slices of toast.
Awesome. Yeah, this is another one I was very intrigued to see. And again, given the subject matter, 100% something I would watch. So
I completely left out someone else who stole the show here. One of my favorites, Michael Shannon.
I was going to ask.
Fantastic.
Oh man,
Sorry,
I saw he was in the
out.
Cast list. I'm like, oh my god, how do you not talk about Michael Shannon? But okay, fair enough.
And all these, everyone in this movie is giving the best performances I've seen in quite some time from each of these people. They all have these like monologues, and like at one point I had to look away from the screen because they essentially showed a video of the aftermath of the concentration camps when the war ended, seeing the skeletons, seeing the ovens, seeing people malnourished, seeing fucking plows pushing these dead bodies. And I know it's a movie, so it could be fake, but it looked real. I had to look away. I was flinching, man.
There is a lot of footage of that really exists. So it wouldn't surprise me if they used the real shit.
I think they did because it looked so fucking believable.
Damn.
And so much emotion. But the weirdest part of this is the movie was also funny. It was very interestingly funny at times. like the way people responded to things, and
it's a courtroom, right? So they're they're going to try whatever tactics they can to get
that's
to that result, right?
The courtroom is only like the third act, essentially. Like we're not there as much as you'd imagine.
Okay,
we're more in a cell most of the time, or someone's house.
I guess the movie isn't Nuremberg trial; it's Nuremberg. It's the city. It's I imagine so. It's a lot of so it's a lot of the build up too, rather than
which is riveting. I was surprised.
Yeah, of course.
Like this was playing at the festival I went to, but I'm like, there was other movies I was interested in. Now I'm like, oh, I wish I saw it when I was there. But I highly implore you, like, definitely check it out. If this, it's not what you'd imagine it being, folks. If you have reservations like I did, and in the Q&A, Russell Crowe was talking about there was a 15-page scene him and Michael Shannon had that was going to be broken up into 4 days of shooting. And the two of them went to the director and they're like, we want to do this on the day. They did 15, 25-minute takes.
Jeez.
And after each take, the extras and the crew were just applauding them. Like, that's how good these performances were. The fact that these two heavy hitters could go head to head. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but 17 pages or 15 pages of a script, folks, is a lot of dialogue and a lot of things to cover. Yeah. And they had 4 cameras going.
And then a lot to keep interesting too. It's because it's not just getting the words out. It's how do I want to believe you saying these words? I got to believe you are thinking of these things in the moment. And that's what's impressive about elements like that. Not even seeing it. That's amazing just to hear that even happened. But no, as soon as I heard this movie was being made and who was in it, I was already sold. Like I would love to see this, just given the intensity of the subject matter and how you're going to portray these moments. But I'm so happy so happy to hear you enjoyed it as much as you did. So
this is definitely going to be an award, surprised. I see a lot of award consideration here, like cast, direction, script, like set design.
Amazing.
A lot of stuff here this film has going on for it. But, damn. I do have I was going to do another movie I saw at the festival. There's 2 more, but I'm going to stretch those out because they don't come out as soon as these previous 2 movies. That's going to do it, I think, for reviews here, man. A lot of stuff.
Right. Yeah. A lot of great stuff. And I will say a lot of like movies that we are excited about. Nothing below 3 slices. That means, folks, all of them are great movies. And like even
never happened.